that I could run away with you. Imprisoned by fear, just pull me away, pull me away. Secret fantasies of me. Will they ever see the light of day, light of day? I don't know where you are, but I will find you. I will find you.
On this episode of Jacqueline's Journey, we're going to talk about the hard times of being a person with a disability and some of the things that I try to do to be proactive rather than reactive. The first thing that I got to tell you is the situation that I found myself in just the other day. Now, usually I have attending care at night, but on this particular night I didn't. For those of you who don't know, attending care means that you have a personal care assistant come to your home or wherever you're at and help you with your personal care needs. And for me at night, that means, helping with dinner, getting me undressed, getting me in bed, and doing all the things that I need to as far as my activities of daily living in order to be, get my needs met. But on this particular night, I didn't have anybody by choice. So Tim and I thought, well, we haven't done anything personal together for a while, so let's do a date night. And we've been saying now for weeks and weeks and weeks that we need to go see a movie. And I wanted to see A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the story about Fred Rogers. So I said, okay, let's go. So we get to the movie theater probably about 30 minutes before the movie starts, and we go into the theater, sit down, watch the movie. It's a cute movie. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But the movie's over, and I've been having this issue with my wheelchair, guys, where it seems to run out of charge despite charging it, and I had charged it earlier in the day while I was at work, and it still was giving me problems, but it stops on a dime, there's a short. But by experience, I know that one of the first things that the wheelchair company is going to say is it needs new batteries. The chair is 5 years old this month, so it's just about time to get a wheelchair, and I have to go through the proper channels in order to do that. But I already from experience know that the wheelchair company is going to say, well, you need new batteries. So 5 weeks ago, I called them up and I ordered new batteries, and I waited to do that because I wanted to make sure that I met my my insurance deductible, because batteries for a wheelchair are not cheap, guys. So I wanted to make sure I met my deductible, and I did that. So I ordered them about 5 weeks ago, and they're just not here yet. The lady at the wheelchair company promises me that they're going to be in by before the new year, so I won't have to meet that deductible again. And if she's wrong, I'm going to be highly upset. I did start taking steps in order to get a new chair, but that's not going to happen overnight. It is not an easy process. And for a power chair, you can spend anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. So it is not something that you can buy out of your pocket, and it's certainly not something that insurance will pay in full. So, knowing that I'd have to jump through hoops first, I ordered those batteries. However, to be perfectly honest, I've had enough experience to know that it's probably not the batteries, it's probably an electrical short, because the wheelchair can go backwards just fine. Where it has problems is when you're going on any incline or any bump. If you hit a bump, it stops. Like, it sounds and acts just like a short. But like I said, I'm going through the proper procedures to kind of roll things out, and it's a shame that a person has to go through very expensive hoops before they actually get to the root of the problem and fix it. But that's a topic for another video. So we leave the movie, and it's about 8 o'clock, almost 8:30, and like usual, I let Tim get a head start so that he can walk out to the van and open up the van, because I knew it was really cold. And for those of you who do know me, I don't wear a coat often because I usually just go from the car into the house, or from the car to wherever I'm going. And coats, let me be honest, are really restrictive for me when I'm, because I'm in a wheelchair. I was going to say when I use the wheelchair, but I always use the wheelchair. So I find a lot of coats to be restrictive. Now, I do have my limits, and I'll talk about cold weather in a little bit, in a couple of weeks, but I refuse to talk about it now. I don't care if it's December or not. So anyway, I usually let him go out and open up the van, which he did, and as I was going from the sidewalk to the parking lot, I could feel the chair like slowing down, and I was like, oh great, this is going to be something, right? Well, usually Tim can get behind the chair and push it up the ramp. The ramp's not really that long, nor will I call it very, very steep. So I was like, okay, let's do this. I also had my cup of tea on my footrest so that I could have my other hand free to help pull if I needed to. So I was convinced that we could do this. No problem. We've done it, a lot of times. Lately it's been at least once a day. So I was pretty convinced that we could do it. So I tried to get up the ramp and couldn't. So Tim pushed and pushed, and we'd get to a certain point, and the chair would stall again. Usually, if it stalls, we can turn it off for a few seconds, turn it back on, and then it will go, or at least go a couple of feet before it stalls, and we kind of inch our way up to where we need to go. But this particular night, it wasn't doing that, and I was so cold. It was bitterly cold, in the 30s, and I've post-surgery, post-weight loss surgery, I'm cold all of the time now, so I was really, really getting cold, and it was windy. I can deal with the cold. It's truthfully the wind that I can't deal with. And we tried and tried, and I was even going to go up the ramp backwards, but the chair also tilts. That's another issue. But going up backwards scared me, because like I said, the chair kind of goes, okay, backwards for whatever reason. So we tried, and we tried, and we tried, and about half an hour into the process, we kind of gave up. People were walking past us. Now, I gotta tell you, this is not a movie theater that is heavily attended, so there were not a lot of people in the movie theater, but those that were just kept walking past us. I was hoping somebody would stop and help, but they didn't. So I ended up calling a family friend to come out and meet us, but it took 30 minutes for him to get there. And the whole time we tried to kneel the van where the ramp goes down lower with the airbags. That, for whatever reason, did not work that night. It was a night with a full moon. I gotta tell you, I started getting hysterical because the colder I got, the more pain I felt, the more my legs were spasming from the cerebral palsy, and it was just very, very painful. So I couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait. And I was crying, I was cursing God, which is something that I shouldn't do. I, was not a very nice person. I'm not going to go into the personal details, but I was just not a very good person. So Finally, the family friend got there and he got me up in the van right away. But what happens when you start getting cold or warmer from being cold is that the pain even gets worse. So by the time I got home, it was worse. And luckily, my mom was here to help me in bed because I knew at that point I couldn't transfer myself. So she helped me in bed, but it took him all night and multiple blankets and our plug-in heater. Besides the heat in our house, I was convinced that there's no heat in our house. That's how cold I was. It took him all night to get me warm. So I have to say that I was not being proactive that night. I was generally being reactive. But I promised that every one of my videos I would leave you all with something, some kind of advice. And I apologize, my hair is such a mess. It is one of those windy nights here in Pennsylvania again. But what did I learn from that experience, and what I could have done to be proactive, and what you can do to be proactive? And this goes for any kind of equipment malfunction or any kind of emergency, or any time you go somewhere where an emergency can happen. So I have my top 3 suggestions. Number 1, take somebody with you, or at least be close enough to the building so that you have people that you can go to if you get stuck. Number 2, let people know where you're going to be in case they have to come rescue you. Thankfully, with the advent of cell phones and GPS locators, that is not always needed, but especially if it's a big area and you want them to know exactly where you are, it's always good to tell people where you're going to be and where they can find you, because in the heat of the moment when you're hysterical, you just want them to get there and you want them to automatically know where you are. So you want to make sure that there's a lot of people around to help you. You want to make sure that people know where you're at in case you need help. And finally, make sure you have a lot of emergency supplies in your car or in your van. Like, we normally carry blankets with us, but for some reason we don't have blankets in the car anymore. That's going to be rectified immediately. But also do some other things, like put a bag of cat litter in the back of your vehicle in the winter. It will weigh down the back and help avoid spinouts, but it will also add a distraction if you get stuck in the snow. And if you run out of ice melt, you can always use cat litter for traction. Keep snacks in there. Bottles of water in there. Just anything, a backup phone charger. I know that if you run out of gas, obviously, or if something's wrong with the car that you can't turn it on, more than likely the charger won't work, but you never know. Maybe you're stranded somewhere where you can use the charger, so keep a spare one. Keep gloves in the glove box, hence the name. Keep tissues. I always keep like an extra plastic bag if we need to throw away something very, very messy, or God forbid, if we need to vomit. I know you're probably thinking too much information, but you never know, guys. So the whole point is to be proactive instead of reactive. I hope at least one of these tips helped you. I survived. I didn't think I was going to survive that night. I truthfully was telling Tim that I was going to die out in the cold. And while you may think that that was extreme, it just hurt. It really hurt. So everybody, tell me in the comments what kind of videos you'd like to hear about or see, and I'll try to do my best. If you have any questions, put those questions in the comments. But remember to like and subscribe so that we can bring you more videos like this. And as always, remember, if you believe, you can achieve. Have a great week, everybody.